Millionaire husband abandons wife and newborn son, then regrets it when he discovers, in the quiet town of Meadowgrove, nestled between rolling hills and a sparkling river, lived a humble man named Jake Harris. Jake was a hard-working family man, devoted to his loving wife, Emily, and their newborn son, Lucas. They lived in a cozy little house on the outskirts of town, and though they didn't have much, they were happy and content with their simple life. Jake worked as a construction worker, his calloused hands and sun-weathered skin a testament to his years of labor. He was known for his warm smile, his friendly demeanor, and his unwavering dedication to his family. Emily was a stay-at-home mother, her days filled with caring for their son and turning their house into a home. She was a woman of quiet strength, her love for her family a beacon that guided them through life's ups and downs. Their life was simple but fulfilling. Jake would come home from work, his muscles aching but his heart full, to find Emily waiting with a warm meal and a loving smile. They would spend their evenings together, talking about their day, sharing their dreams, and reveling in the simple joys of their life. They were a close-knit family, their love for each other a bond that held them together through the challenges and the triumphs of life. One day, Jake stopped at a local gas station to buy a lottery ticket, a rare indulgence with his last $5 until payday. He was feeling lucky, and on a whim, he chose a series of numbers based on significant dates in his life. His and Emily's birthdays, their anniversary, and Lucas's birth date. Little did he know that this simple action would change his life forever. The next morning, Jake woke up to the sound of his phone ringing. It was a number he didn't recognize, and he almost ignored it. But something compelled him to answer, and the voice on the other end of the line would forever alter the course of his life. "Is this Jacob Harris?" the voice asked. "Yes, this is Jake," he replied groggily. "Congratulations, Mr. Harris. You're the winner of last night's Mega Millions jackpot. You've just won $150 million. Jake was stunned. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. He looked at his phone, half expecting it to be a prank, but the caller ID showed the state lottery commission's number. He listened as the representative explained the process of claiming his prize, his mind spinning with the implications of his sudden wealth. Jake hung up the phone, his heart pounding in his chest. He looked around the small bedroom he shared with Emily, the faded wallpaper and the second-hand furniture suddenly seeming shabby and worn. He thought of the life they could have now, the things they could buy, the places they could go. He thought of the future that lay before them, a future filled with endless possibilities. But as Jake's mind raced with dreams of wealth and prosperity, a darker thought began to take root. He thought of the struggles they had faced, the hardships they had endured, and the sacrifices they had made. He thought of the life they had built together, the love they had shared, and the family they had created. And he began to wonder if this was the life he truly wanted. Jake spent the day in a daze, his mind consumed by thoughts of his newfound wealth. He went to work, but his heart wasn't in it. He couldn't focus on his tasks, his mind filled with visions of a different life, a life of luxury and indulgence. He found himself daydreaming about the things he could buy, the places he could go, and the experiences he could have. As the day wore on, Jake's excitement grew. He couldn't wait to tell Emily the news, to share his dreams and his plans with her. He imagined her reaction, the joy and the excitement that would light up her face. He imagined the life they could build together, the future that lay before them, and the possibilities that awaited them. But as Jake drove home that evening, a sense of unease began to creep in. He thought of the life they had built together, the love they had shared, and the family they had created. He thought of the struggles they had faced, the hardships they had endured, and the sacrifices they had made. And he began to wonder if this new life, this life of wealth and prosperity, was truly what he wanted. In the days that followed, Jake became increasingly distant. He spent hours on the phone with financial advisors and lawyers, making plans for his newfound wealth. He talked about moving to a bigger city, buying a mansion, and traveling the world. He seemed to be living in a dream, a fantasy of wealth and luxury that had no room for his old life. Emily watched her husband with growing concern. She was happy for him, for the opportunities that his sudden wealth would bring. But she also saw the change in him, the growing distance between them, and the way he seemed to be drifting away from their family. She tried to talk to him, to remind him of the life they had built together, but he brushed her off, his mind consumed by dreams of a different future. One day, Emily overheard Jake on the phone with a real estate agent. He was talking about selling their house, about leaving Meadowgrove and starting a new life somewhere else. She listened as he talked about his plans, his voice filled with excitement and anticipation, and she realized, with a sinking heart, that those plans didn't include her or Lucas. Emily confronted Jake, her voice trembling with emotion. "Jake, what's going on?" she asked. "You're talking about leaving, about starting a new life. What about us? What about our family?" Jake looked at her, his expression distant and detached. "Emily, I've been thinking," he said. "This money, it's a chance for me to start over, to live the life I've always wanted. And I don't want to be held back by this." He gestured around the room, his voice filled with disdain. Emily stared at him, her heart breaking. "Buy this?" she repeated. "Buy us? Buy our family?" Jake nodded, his expression unyielding. "I'm sorry, Emily," he said, "but I can't do this anymore. I can't live this life, this small-town existence. I want more. I want freedom, adventure, excitement. And I can't have that with you and Lucas holding me back." Emily was stunned. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. She looked at her husband, the man she had loved and trusted, the father of her child, and she saw a stranger. She saw a man consumed by greed and ambition, a man who had lost sight of what truly mattered in life. Emily's mind raced as she tried to process Jake's words. She thought of the life they had built together, the love they had shared, and the family they had created. She thought of the struggles they had faced, the hardships they had endured, and the sacrifices they had made. And she realized, with a growing sense of anger and betrayal, that Jake was willing to throw it all away for the promise of a different life. Emily took a deep breath, her voice steady and firm. "Jake, I understand that this money has given you opportunities that you never had before," she said. "But it doesn't give you the right to abandon your family, to turn your back on the people who love you, and to throw away the life you've built. You have a responsibility to us, to Lucas and to me, and you can't just walk away from that." Jake looked at her, his expression cold and unyielding. "I'm sorry, Emily," he said, "but I can't live this life anymore. I can't be the man you want me to be, the husband and the father that you and Lucas deserve. I need to be free to live my own life and to pursue my own dreams. And I can't do that with you and Lucas holding me back." Emily stared at him, her heart breaking. She saw the finality in his eyes, the resolution in his voice, and the determination in his heart. She saw the man she had loved, the man who had been her partner and her soulmate, and the man who was now a stranger to her. Jake left that day, his bags packed and his heart set on a new life. He left behind Emily and Lucas, his family and his home, his past and his responsibilities. He left behind the life he had known and the people he had loved, all in pursuit of a dream of wealth and prosperity. Emily watched him go, her heart heavy with sorrow and disbelief. She held Lucas close, her tears falling onto his soft cheek as she whispered promises of love and protection. She vowed to be strong, to be the mother and father that Lucas needed, to build a life for them both in the face of Jake's abandonment. News of Jake's sudden wealth and his subsequent abandonment of his family spread quickly through Meadowgrove. The town was abuzz with gossip and speculation, with whispers of betrayal and heartbreak. Emily was the subject of pity and sympathy, the woman scorned by her newly wealthy husband. She held her head high, her dignity unbroken, and her spirit unyielding. Jake, meanwhile, was living the high life. He bought a lavish mansion in a wealthy neighborhood, filled it with expensive furniture and artwork, and hosted extravagant parties for his new friends. He traveled the world, staying in luxurious hotels and dining in the finest restaurants. He indulged in every whim and desire, his life a never-ending parade of pleasure and indulgence. But as the months passed, Jake began to feel a growing emptiness inside him. He had everything he had ever wanted, everything he had ever dreamed of, and yet he felt unfulfilled. He looked around at his lavish surroundings, at the people who filled his life, and he saw the shallowness and the superficiality of it all. He saw the emptiness of his existence, the hollowness of his pursuits, and the meaninglessness of his wealth. And he began to think of Emily and Lucas, of the life he had left behind, and of the love he had abandoned. He began to wonder if he had made a mistake, if he had traded something precious and irreplaceable for something fleeting and insignificant. He began to question the choices he had made, the path he had taken, and the life he had chosen. Jake found himself lying awake at night, his mind filled with thoughts of Emily and Lucas. He remembered the way Emily would smile at him, the way her eyes would light up when she talked about their future together. He remembered the way Lucas would coo and gurgle, his tiny hands reaching out for Jake's finger. He remembered the love they had shared, the joy they had experienced, and the happiness they had found in each other's company. And he realized, with a growing sense of regret and longing, that he had thrown it all away. He had abandoned the people he loved, the life he had built, and the happiness he had found, all in pursuit of a dream that had turned out to be empty and meaningless. He had chased after wealth and prosperity, only to find that it had left him feeling hollow and unfulfilled. Jake began to seek out ways to fill the void in his life. He threw himself into his work, pouring his energy and his resources into new business ventures and investments. He surrounded himself with people who shared his love of wealth and success, people who understood the allure of money and the thrill of the chase. He tried to lose himself in the whirlwind of his new life, to drown out the voices of doubt and regret that haunted him. But no matter how hard he tried, Jake couldn't escape the emptiness that gnawed at him. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing, that something was wrong with the life he had chosen. He couldn't silence the voices that whispered in his ear, reminding him of the love he had abandoned and the happiness he had forsaken. And so, Jake found himself at a crossroads. He had achieved everything he had ever wanted, everything he had ever dreamed of, and yet he felt more lost and alone than ever before. He had chased after wealth and success, only to find that it had left him feeling empty and unfulfilled. He had abandoned the people he loved, the life he had built, and the happiness he had found, all in pursuit of a dream that had turned out to be a mirage. Jake knew that he had to make a change, that he had to find a way to fill the void in his life and to silence the voices of doubt and regret that haunted him. He knew that he had to find a way to make amends for the mistakes he had made, to rebuild the bridges he had burned, and to reclaim the love and the happiness he had abandoned. But he also knew that it wouldn't be easy, that the road to redemption was a long and winding one, filled with challenges and obstacles. He knew that he had hurt the people he loved, that he had betrayed their trust and their faith in him, and that he had a lot of work to do to make things right. And so, with a heavy heart and a determined spirit, Jake set out on a journey of redemption, a quest to reclaim the love and the happiness he had abandoned, and to build a new life that was filled with meaning and purpose. Back in Meadow Grove, Emily was struggling to make ends meet. Jake had left her with nothing, no money, no support, and no means of providing for herself and Lucas. She was forced to sell their house, to move into a small apartment, and to take on multiple jobs to make ends meet. But Emily was not alone in her struggles. The community of Meadow Grove rallied around her, offering their support and their help. They brought her meals, watched Lucas while she worked, and offered her words of encouragement and comfort. They became her family, her support system, and her lifeline in the face of her hardships. Among those who offered their help was a man named Daniel, a kind and compassionate widower who ran the local hardware store. Daniel had known Emily and Jake for years, had watched their family grow, and had witnessed their struggles and their triumphs. He had always admired Emily's strength and her resilience, and he was determined to help her in any way he could. Daniel offered Emily a job at his store, a steady income that would allow her to provide for herself and Lucas. He became a mentor and a friend to her, offering her guidance and support as she navigated the challenges of single parenthood. He listened to her stories, shared her burdens, and offered her a shoulder to cry on in her moments of weakness. As the months passed, Emily and Daniel grew closer. They shared a bond of friendship and mutual respect, a connection that deepened with each passing day. They laughed together, cried together, and supported each other through the ups and downs of life. And slowly, steadily, they began to fall in love. Daniel was a loving and devoted partner to Emily, a kind and compassionate father figure to Lucas. He treated them both with kindness and respect, offering them the love and support that Jake had denied them. He became a part of their family, a member of their inner circle, and a source of strength and stability in their lives. Emily, for her part, was a source of light and joy in Daniel's life. She brought warmth and laughter into his home, filled his days with happiness and his nights with love. She became his partner, his confidant, and his soulmate, the woman who completed him and made him whole. Together, they built a life filled with love and happiness, a life that was rich in the things that truly mattered. They shared their joys and their sorrows, their triumphs and their challenges, and their hopes and their dreams. They became a family, a unit, and a team bound together by the power of their love and the strength of their commitment. But even as they reveled in their newfound happiness, they were aware of the shadow that hung over their lives. They knew that Jake was still out there, living his life of wealth and indulgence, oblivious to the pain and the suffering he had caused. They knew that he was still a part of their lives, a ghost from the past that haunted their present and threatened their future. Emily and Daniel talked about Jake, about the man he had been and the man he had become. They talked about the pain he had caused, the betrayal he had committed, and the abandonment he had inflicted. They talked about the anger and the resentment they felt, the hurt and the sadness that lingered in their hearts. But they also talked about forgiveness, about the power of understanding and the importance of letting go. They talked about the need to move on, to leave the past behind, and to focus on the future. They talked about the love they shared, the life they had built, and the happiness they had found in each other's company. And they made a decision, a choice to let go of the past and to embrace the future. They chose to forgive Jake, to release the anger and the resentment they felt, and to focus on the love and the happiness that filled their lives. They chose to build a future together, a future that was filled with hope and promise, and that was free from the shadows of the past. Emily and Daniel's relationship blossomed like a flower in the spring, a beacon of hope and happiness in the midst of their struggles. They found joy in each other's company, comfort in each other's presence, and love in each other's hearts. They became each other's rock, each other's sanctuary, and each other's home. Daniel was a loving and devoted partner to Emily, a kind and compassionate father figure to Lucas. He treated them both with kindness and respect, offering them the love and support that Jake had denied them. He became a part of their family, a member of their inner circle, and a source of strength and stability in their lives. Emily, for her part, was a source of light and joy in Daniel's life. She brought warmth and laughter into his home, filled his days with happiness and his nights with love. She became his partner, his confidant, and his soulmate, the woman who completed him and made him whole. Together, they built a life filled with love and happiness, a life that was rich in the things that truly mattered. They shared their joys and their sorrows, their triumphs and their challenges, and their hopes and their dreams. They became a family, a unit, and a team bound together by the power of their love and the strength of their commitment. But even as they reveled in their newfound happiness, they were aware of the challenges that lay ahead. They knew that their relationship was still new, still fragile, and still vulnerable to the pressures and the stresses of life. They knew that they would face obstacles and setbacks, that they would encounter difficulties and hardships, and that they would need to work together to overcome them. And so, they made a conscious effort to nurture and strengthen their relationship, to build a foundation that was solid and secure, and that could withstand the storms of life. They communicated openly and honestly, sharing their thoughts and their feelings, their hopes and their fears, and their dreams and their desires. They listened to each other, supported each other, and encouraged each other, building a bond that was strong and unbreakable. They also made an effort to include Lucas in their relationship, to make him a part of their family and their life together. They spent time with him, played with him, and loved him, nurturing his growth and his development, and fostering his happiness and his well-being. They became a family, a unit, and a team bound together by the power of their love and the strength of their commitment. As the months passed, Emily and Daniel's relationship grew stronger and deeper. They became more than just partners, more than just lovers, more than just friends. They became soulmates, two halves of a whole, bound together by a love that was pure and true, and that transcended the boundaries of time and space. They also became more involved in the community, more engaged in the life of Meadowgrove, and more committed to making a difference in the world around them. They volunteered their time and their resources, offering their help and their support to those in need. They became a beacon of hope and inspiration, a symbol of love and kindness, and a force for good in the world. And as they grew together, as they built their life and their family, as they nurtured their love and their commitment, they began to see the fruits of their labor. They saw the joy and the happiness that filled their lives, the love and the laughter that surrounded them, and the hope and the promise that lay before them. But they also knew that their journey was far from over, that the road ahead was filled with challenges and obstacles, and that the path to happiness and fulfillment was a long and winding one. They knew that they would face setbacks and difficulties, that they would encounter hardships and trials, and that they would need to work together to overcome them. And so, with a shared vision and a common purpose, with a love that was pure and true, and with a commitment that was strong and unyielding, Emily and Daniel set out on a journey of growth and discovery, of love and happiness, and of hope and fulfillment. Together, they would face the challenges of life, overcome the obstacles in their path, and build a future that was filled with promise and possibility. One day, Jake returned to Meadowgrove. He had been gone for over a year, living his life of luxury and indulgence, but he had never forgotten the life he had left behind. He had never forgotten Emily and Lucas, the family he had abandoned, and the love he had betrayed. He had come to a realization, a moment of clarity that had shaken him to his core. He had looked around at his lavish surroundings, at the people who filled his life, and he had seen the emptiness of it all. He had seen the shallowness of his pursuits, the hollowness of his desires, and the meaninglessness of his wealth. And he had known, with a certainty that was both terrifying and liberating, that he had made a mistake. He had come back to Meadowgrove to make amends, to seek forgiveness, and to reclaim the life he had abandoned. He had come back to find Emily and Lucas, to beg for their forgiveness, and to ask for a second chance. He had come back to make things right, to heal the wounds he had caused, and to build a future that was filled with love and happiness. But as Jake walked through the familiar streets of Meadowgrove, he began to realize that things had changed. He saw the looks of disdain and contempt on the faces of the people he passed, the whispers and the stares that followed him wherever he went. He saw the judgment in their eyes, the condemnation in their expressions, and the rejection in their hearts. And he saw Emily, standing on the street with a man he didn't recognize. He saw the way she looked at him, the way she smiled at him, and the way she held his hand. He saw the love in her eyes, the happiness in her smile, and the contentment in her heart. And he knew, with a sinking feeling in his stomach, that he was too late. Jake approached Emily, his heart pounding in his chest. He saw the shock in her eyes, the disbelief and the wariness that replaced the happiness and the contentment he had seen just moments before. He saw the way she stepped back, the way she held Lucas protectively, and the way she looked at him with a mixture of pity and disgust. "Emily," he said, his voice trembling with emotion, "I'm so sorry. I made a mistake. I want to make things right. I want to come back to you and Lucas. I want to be a family again." Emily looked at him, her expression unyielding. "Jake," she said, her voice steady and calm, "you can't just come back here and expect everything to be the way it was. You can't just walk back into our lives and expect us to welcome you with open arms. You abandoned us, Jake. You left us with nothing. You betrayed us, and you hurt us, and you broke our hearts." Jake nodded, his eyes filled with tears. "I know," he said, "and I'm so sorry. I was blinded by the money, by the promise of a different life. I lost sight of what truly mattered. I lost sight of you and Lucas, of our family, and of our love, and I want to make things right. I want to make amends. I want to be the husband and the father that you and Lucas deserve." Emily looked at him, her expression softening slightly. She saw the sincerity in his eyes, the regret in his voice, and the pain in his heart. She saw the man she had once loved, the man who had been her partner and her soulmate, and the man who had betrayed her and broken her heart. But she also saw the man who stood beside her, the man who had been her rock and her sanctuary, and the man who had loved her and supported her through the darkest times of her life. She saw Daniel, the man who had shown her the true meaning of love and commitment, and the man who had given her a second chance at happiness. Emily took a deep breath, her voice steady and firm. "Jake," she said, "I appreciate your apology, and I accept it. I forgive you for the pain you caused, and I wish you the best in your life. But I can't give you what you want. I can't give you a second chance, because I found someone who loves me and Lucas, who supports us and cherishes us, and who makes us happy. And that someone is Daniel." Jake looked at her, his heart breaking. He saw the finality in her eyes, the resolution in her voice, and the strength in her heart. He saw the love that she had for Daniel, the happiness that she had found with him, and the future that they had built together. And he knew that he had lost her, that he had lost his family, and that he had lost his chance at redemption. Jake was devastated by Emily's rejection. He had come to Meadowgrove with hopes of reconciliation, of forgiveness, and of redemption. He had come seeking a second chance, a chance to make things right, to heal the wounds he had caused, and to build a future filled with love and happiness. But he had found instead a harsh reality, a painful truth that shattered his dreams and his hopes. He had found that Emily had moved on, that she had found love and happiness with someone else, and that she had built a new life that didn't include him. Jake was filled with a mix of emotions, a swirl of regret, sadness, and despair. He felt the weight of his mistakes, the burden of his betrayal, and the pain of his loss. He felt the emptiness of his existence, the hollowness of his pursuits, and the meaninglessness of his wealth. And he felt a deep and profound sense of longing, a yearning for the love and the happiness that he had abandoned, and for the life that he had forsaken. But Jake also knew that he couldn't give up, that he couldn't just walk away and accept defeat. He knew that he had to fight for what he wanted, that he had to make amends for the mistakes he had made, and that he had to prove himself worthy of forgiveness and redemption. And so, Jake set out on a quest to win back Emily's heart, to prove to her that he was a changed man, a man who had learned the true meaning of love and commitment, and a man who was worthy of her forgiveness and her love. He started by trying to make amends for the pain he had caused, for the betrayal he had committed, and for the abandonment he had inflicted. He apologized to Emily, to Lucas, and to the community of Meadowgrove, acknowledging the hurt he had caused and the mistakes he had made. He expressed his regret and his remorse, his sorrow and his shame, and he begged for their forgiveness and their understanding. He also tried to make things right, to heal the wounds he had caused, and to repair the damage he had done. He offered to help Emily and Lucas financially, to provide for them and to support them in any way he could. He offered to pay for Lucas's education, to buy them a new house, and to give them the life they deserved. But Emily was firm in her resolve, steadfast in her commitment to Daniel, and unyielding in her rejection of Jake. She appreciated his apology, accepted his regret, and forgave him for the pain he had caused. But she made it clear that she couldn't give him what he wanted, that she couldn't give him a second chance, and that she had moved on with her life. Jake was undeterred, determined to win back Emily's heart and to prove himself worthy of her love. He began to woo her, to court her, and to pursue her, using every means at his disposal to win her affection and her devotion. He sent her flowers and gifts, wrote her love letters and poems, and serenaded her with songs and declarations of his love. He also began to insert himself into her life, to insinuate himself into her world, and to make himself a part of her daily existence. He showed up at her work, at her home, and at the places she frequented, always with a smile and a kind word, always with a gesture of love and affection. He became a constant presence in her life, a reminder of the love they had shared, and a symbol of the future he hoped to build with her. But Emily was unmoved, unimpressed, and uninterested in Jake's advances. She saw through his gestures, recognized the manipulation and the insincerity behind them, and rejected his attempts to win her back. She remained steadfast in her commitment to Daniel, loyal to the man who had loved her and supported her, and faithful to the life they had built together. Jake grew increasingly desperate, increasingly frustrated, and increasingly aggressive in his pursuit of Emily. He began to make demands, to issue ultimatums, and to threaten her with consequences if she didn't give him what he wanted. He became possessive and controlling, jealous and resentful, and angry and bitter. Emily grew increasingly concerned, increasingly frightened, and increasingly determined to protect herself. And Lucas from Jake's advances. She turned to Daniel for support and protection, relying on his strength and his love to help her navigate the challenges she faced. Daniel, for his part, was a rock of support and a pillar of strength for Emily. He stood by her side, offering her his love and his protection, his guidance and his support. He became her shield and her sanctuary, her defender and her champion, and her partner and her ally in the face of Jake's aggression. Together, they stood firm against Jake's advances, united in their love and their commitment, and determined to protect their family and their future. They sought the help of the community, turning to their friends and their neighbors for support and protection. They also sought legal advice, consulting with lawyers and law enforcement to ensure their safety and their security. The community of Meadowgrove rallied around Emily and Daniel, offering their support and their protection, their love and their encouragement. They became a wall of defense, a barrier of protection, and a shield of support, standing between Emily and Jake and ensuring her safety and her security. Jake, faced with the united front of Emily, Daniel, and the community, began to realize the futility of his pursuit. He saw the strength of their love, the power of their commitment, and the unyielding nature of their resolve. He saw the support they had, the protection they enjoyed, and the love that surrounded them. And he knew that he couldn't break them, that he couldn't win them over, and that he couldn't have what he wanted. And so, with a heavy heart and a defeated spirit, Jake accepted the reality of his situation. He accepted that he had lost Emily, that he had lost his family, and that he had lost his chance at redemption. He accepted that he had made mistakes, that he had caused pain, and that he had inflicted hurt. And he accepted that he had to live with the consequences of his actions, that he had to face the reality of his choices, and that he had to find a way to move on with his life. Jake left Meadowgrove that day, his heart heavy with sorrow and regret. He had come seeking forgiveness and redemption, but he had found only rejection and loss. He had seen the life that he had abandoned, the love that he had betrayed, and the happiness that he had forsaken. And he had known, with a certainty that was both painful and liberating, that he could never go back. But as Jake walked away from Meadowgrove, he also knew that he could not go back to his old life. He could not go back to the wealth and the indulgence, the shallowness and the superficiality, and the emptiness and the meaninglessness that had defined his existence. He knew that he had to find a new path, a new direction, and a new purpose in life. Jake began to volunteer at a local homeless shelter, offering his time and his resources to those in need. He found a sense of fulfillment and purpose in his work, a sense of connection and community that he had never known before. He began to see the world through different eyes, to understand the struggles and the hardships that others faced, and to appreciate the value of compassion and kindness. He also began to rebuild his relationships, to reach out to the people he had hurt and to make amends for the pain he had caused. He apologized to his friends and his family, to the people he had abandoned and the lives he had betrayed. He sought their forgiveness and their understanding, and he worked to rebuild the bridges that he had burned. And slowly, steadily, Jake began to find redemption. He began to heal the wounds he had caused, to repair the damage he had done, and to build a new life that was filled with meaning and purpose. He began to understand the true value of wealth, the true meaning of success, and the true importance of love and family. Jake also began to reflect on the choices he had made, the path he had taken, and the life he had chosen. He thought about the man he had been, the man consumed by greed and ambition, the man who had abandoned his family and betrayed his love. And he saw the man he had become, the man filled with compassion and kindness, the man who had found redemption and purpose, and the man who had learned the true value of love and family. He realized that his journey had been a long and winding one, filled with challenges and obstacles, but also filled with growth and discovery. He saw the mistakes he had made, the lessons he had learned, and the changes he had undergone. And he was proud of the man he had become, the life he had built, and the future that lay before him. But Jake also knew that his journey was far from over, that the road to redemption was a long and winding one, and that the battle against his past was a constant and ongoing one. He knew that he had to continue to grow, to continue to learn, and to continue to make amends. He knew that he had to face the challenges ahead, to overcome the obstacles in his path, and to honor his commitment to change and redemption. And so, with a renewed sense of purpose and a determined spirit, Jake set out on a new journey, a journey of growth and discovery, of love and happiness, and of hope and fulfillment. He was committed to making a difference in the world, to building a future that was filled with meaning and purpose, and to honoring the love and the family that he had once abandoned, but had now reclaimed. As Jake reflected on his journey, he marveled at the changes he had undergone, the growth he had experienced, and the transformation he had achieved. He remembered the man he had been, the man consumed by greed and ambition, the man who had abandoned his family and betrayed his love. And he saw the man he had become, the man filled with compassion and kindness, the man who had found redemption and purpose, and the man who had learned the true value of love and family. Jake saw the power of forgiveness, the value of understanding, and the importance of empathy. He saw the strength that came from compassion, the courage that came from kindness, and the hope that came from redemption. He saw the man he had been and the man he had become, and he was proud of the journey he had taken and the changes he had made. But Jake also knew that his journey was far from over, that the road to redemption was a long and winding one, and that the battle against his past was a constant and ongoing one. He knew that he had to continue to grow, to continue to learn, and to continue to make amends. He knew that he had to face the challenges ahead, to overcome the obstacles in his path, and to honor his commitment to change and redemption. Jake reflected on the people who had guided and supported him, the people who had challenged and inspired him, and the people who had believed in him and stood by him. He thought of Emily and Lucas, of the love they had shared and the life they had built. He thought of Daniel, of the kindness and compassion he had shown, and the forgiveness and understanding he had offered. And he thought of the people he had met along the way, the people who had taught him the true meaning of wealth and success, and the people who had shown him the power of love and family. Jake was grateful for the people in his life, for their guidance and their support, and for their shared commitment to a better future. He was humbled by their faith in him, inspired by their example, and determined to honor their trust and their belief in him. He was committed to continuing his journey, to growing and learning, and to making a real and lasting difference. He also reflected on the lessons he had learned, the insights he had gained, and the wisdom he had acquired. He saw the true value of wealth, the true meaning of success, and the true importance of love and family. He saw the power of compassion and kindness, the strength of understanding and empathy, and the hope of redemption and forgiveness. And he saw the future that lay before him, a future filled with promise and possibility, with hope and fulfillment, and with love and happiness. He saw the man he had become, the life he had built, and the journey that lay ahead. And he was filled with a sense of purpose and determination, a commitment to making a difference, and a resolve to building a better future. But Jake also knew that the road ahead was filled with challenges and obstacles, with setbacks and difficulties, and with trials and tribulations. He knew that he would face obstacles and setbacks, that he would encounter hardships and trials, and that he would need to work hard to overcome them. And so, with a renewed sense of purpose and a determined spirit, Jake set out on a journey of growth and discovery, of love and happiness, and of hope and fulfillment. He was committed to making a difference in the world, to building a future that was filled with meaning and purpose, and to honoring the love and the family that he had once abandoned, but had now reclaimed. In the end, Jake's story was a testament to the power of redemption, the importance of forgiveness, and the value of understanding. It was a story of a man who had lost his way, who had been consumed by greed and ambition, and who had abandoned the people he loved and the life he cherished. But it was also a story of a man who had found his way back, who had sought forgiveness and redemption, and who had learned the true meaning of love and family. Jake's journey was a reminder that wealth and success are not measured by the size of one's bank account or the lavishness of one's lifestyle. They are measured by the love and happiness that one shares with others, by the compassion and kindness that one shows to those in need, and by the purpose and meaning that one finds in life. It was also a reminder that the road to redemption is a long and winding one, filled with challenges and obstacles, but also filled with hope and possibility. It is a road that requires courage and determination, understanding and empathy, and forgiveness and love. But it is a road that leads to a better future, a brighter tomorrow, and a life filled with meaning and purpose. And so, Jake's story serves as an inspiration and a reminder to us all. It reminds us that the true value of wealth lies not in the things we possess, but in the love we share and the lives we touch. It reminds us that the true meaning of success is found not in the size of our bank accounts, but in the size of our hearts and the strength of our character. And it reminds us that the true power of redemption lies in the courage to change, the determination to grow, and the commitment to make a difference in the world around us. For in the end, it is not the wealth we accumulate or the success we achieve that defines us. It is the love we share, the lives we touch, and the difference we make that truly matters. And it is in the pursuit of these things that we find the true meaning and purpose of our lives. Jake's story is a testament to the power of change, the importance of growth, and the value of redemption. It is a story that reminds us that it is never too late to make amends, to seek forgiveness, and to build a better future. It is a story that inspires us to be better, to do better, and to make a difference in the world around us. And it is a story that reminds us that, in the end, the true measure of a man is not the wealth he accumulates or the success he achieves, but the love he shares, the lives he touches, and the difference he makes. For it is in these things that we find the true meaning and purpose of our lives, and it is in the pursuit of these things that we find the true path to happiness and fulfillment. So let us be inspired by Jake's story. Let us be reminded of the power of redemption and the importance of forgiveness, and let us be committed to making a difference in the world around us. Let us seek to be better, to do better, and to make a difference in the lives of those we touch. And let us find, in the pursuit of these things, the true meaning and purpose of our lives.